The American dream is dead. People don't have a future to look forward to. And it comes back to the cost of living now and the utter uncertainty about whether we'll be able to afford to live at all in the future. We can't count on our healthcare because your healthcare depends on your employment, if you're so lucky, and the cost goes up every year. And if you lose your job, you also lose your healthcare. We can't count on good housing because the rent goes up every year, and getting a mortgage has become inaccessible for way too many. If you have kids, you don't know if you're going to be able to afford to put your kids in daycare or what the cost of their education is going to be. And if you're aging, you don't know if you're going to be able to collect on Social Security, which was a promise that was made 90 years ago. And now Donald Trump and Tom Barrett are trying to break that promise. The fact of the matter is that there are billionaires in San Francisco and New York who are eating the whole pie and are leaving the rest of us to fight over the crumbs, while they divide us with social media algorithms. They want us fighting against each other. And Trump is a master at this. Every vector of division in society he exploits, whether it's race, religion, where you were born, gender, even partisanship, Democrats versus Republicans. They want us fighting against each other along all of those lines. Because if we're doing that, we're not fighting against the billionaires who are the ones who are hoarding the wealth that we all need to live a dignified life in the 21st century.
Now, the overall desire to settle down, have kids, get married, start a family, maybe home ownership or any sort of savings and, compound interest for your future retirement, when any of us ever potentially reach that point in our lives, that's all kind of drifting away from us. The modern generations, Gen Z, Millennials, anything after that, Alpha, Beta, whatever the fuck I'm going to call these people, this is not really a reality for them. And unless you want to take out constant debt or play this game of, where's the money coming from, the average person is not really living this type of lifestyle. So despite which generation you find yourself falling into, which tax bracket you claim to sit in, don't forget to leave your thoughts, opinions down below regarding anything discussed in this video. We're going to discuss how the traditional lifestyle is kind of depleting for the average individual, at least in the Middle Ages, and also kind of talking about how these new generations are having this lackluster society that we're currently living in, and it doesn't matter which generation you're in, we're all kind of experiencing it. So let's begin this shit show and start bitching and complaining.
Millennials and Gen Z are doomed financially because over the past several years, inflation has just gotten crazy. People that have assets already, the older generations, the boomers, the Gen X, they've already amassed a lot of assets. And honestly, some millennials have too, but we haven't had near as long to amass that. And especially Gen Z that are really just now getting into the workforce. I think they're around 25 years old right now at the oldest. They haven't had time to amass assets, and especially property, because everything is just going crazy. The inflation is crazy, and everybody that has assets right now gets to benefit from that, but wages are not going up anywhere close to as fast. We're really shrinking that gap between what our income is and what our expenses are, and they're not going up at the same rates.
One of the biggest enemies in terms of, knocking down the traditional lifestyle and this tower of the American dream that the Western world loves to prop up so damn much all the time, it's kind of money. It's money. It's that imaginary number in your bank account that gets direct deposited whenever payday hits, whether that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hey, it could be every day, depending on what you do. If you, I don't know what you do for a living, if it's legal or not, doesn't matter to me. But it really does come to show that no matter what you do, it doesn't, or how many things you do, there's never enough money to really get you by or, kind of complete any of these life milestones that you potentially saw yourself hitting at the said age that you're at right now, or your peers around you are hitting that you feel are so out of reach or out of touch for your said self. And I've definitely been experiencing this. It's kind of why the older you get, the more scrolling through Facebook when you're, morning toilet scroll, it kind of feels more shameful than exciting. We used to want to see what our high school sweethearts were doing, and now we're just like, damn, they're married, they've joined the forces, they have houses, 401ks, they have all these potentials, and we don't have any of that. So do you personally feel like you can relate to this, or are you kind of in the other side of this where you're looking at people who are hating like we need to get our shit together?
Boomers have just absolutely fucked these couple of generations. If you look at the cost of homes, the cost of education, the big problem in the United States is wages have not grown, except for people who have a lot of money already. If you wanted to start a family and you're in $100,000 in debt for your student loans, and homes have doubled, tripled, quadrupled in price when compared to your income, and we don't have real wage growth, that's an issue. And I think this will become the issue of the next election. We see Mondami and the socialist movement. If you really want to make a compelling argument for the next election cycle, I think it's real wage growth. growth. And if you look at minimum wage and this disparity between what top earners make and where minimum wage is in the United States versus other developed countries, there's a real argument here, even though we might all be free market individuals. This came out of New York this week. Slow gains in jobs in New York City for the first half of 2025. This is New York City. We clearly have some issues with jobs here, and young people are clearly having a problem. We're talking here just about the American dream. Is it broken for these next generations? Low wages, high debt, no ability to buy a home.
We are really screwing it up for the next generation. Take an average 18-year-old today. If she enrolls in university, it will cost her around $30,000. When I started uni, it was free. While at uni, she might pay 40% of her income in rent. I paid half that. She finishes her degree and she wants to buy a house. Today, a house costs 8 times the average national income. In the 1980s, it was 4 times. Maybe, despite the challenges, she does eventually get to buy a home. Then she gets to face bigger issues. Her generation will be facing a climate crisis that we have created and have failed to address while paying off their tertiary education, and they're also supporting an ageing population. Thinking that young people are lazy is lazy thinking. My generation isn't listening to young people. We are at serious risk of becoming the first generation in human history to leave the world worse off than we found it. All parents want their kids to have it better than they do. For our children and our grandchildren, we must build homes. We must give young people access to affordable education. We must make groceries and electricity cheaper. We must take real climate action. Politics shouldn't be about the next election, it should be about the next generation.
Now, hope for the future for pretty much anybody or anyone that is in modern day is pretty much nothing. It's depleted over the course of the last few years, especially the last few years, if you really want to signify all that bullshit. But in terms of the younger generations, the modern generations, you're constantly hearing that, there's not much to look forward to. I mean, either what? Is there going to be another, civil war? Is there going to be another world war? Talking about World War III? Are we going to have to give all our tax dollars to causes that we don't really get any real, debate about? And we probably don't really, support a lot of these causes that are literally pennies are going to, but all the pennies add up. By the way, they're not even making pennies, so what a weird world we're currently living in, where even change is not even around anymore. How are we going to wish for the future? What are we going to, close our eyes and toss into the water fountain at the local mall if there's no pennies left? They're literally taking our wishes away from us, folks. It's getting insane out here. Let's wrap up another video discussing how dreams die the older you get, and how despite which generation you find yourself falling into, or tax brackets you claim to sit in, we're all screwed at the end of the day. So feel free to leave your thoughts, opinions down below in the comments. I always love to go through those and respond to the ones I see fit, as well as I want to give a huge shout out and a large amount of acknowledgement to the handful of you guys checking out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me in the content around here. It's kind of like out for this one, so I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. So yeah.